This series will be made up of multiple parts, each covering different core elements of aiming. By the end, you will not only have every resource you need for developing godlike aim, but I will also be giving you simple step-by-step advice that can help you get there easily. For this video, I'll be covering flicking, and quite frankly, unless you already have amazing aim, you will likely hear some new things here that you haven't heard before. Let's get right into it. Basic flick technique. Flick technique is probably the most important element of good aim. If you have good technique, you will probably demolish kids in ranked. I'd say this is the case even if your aim training scores are low. Low scores while training with good technique translates into FPS games better than poor technique with high scores in aim trainers. You can see this even with pro players. Lots of pros have good technique but bad scores on aim trainers. And at the same time, the pros who do have good scores in aim trainers, they are usually the best players in ranked as well. That's because while aim training with poor technique, you can brute force high scores. By doing this, you do improve over time, but it's less of a consistent strategy. Inside competitive games, however, you need every drop of consistency you can get. Imagine you get a perfect peek off on the enemy killjoy, good crosshair placement, even good timing. You have half a second to make that small micro adjustment, and then after that, you'll have the entire sight for your team. But oh, you missed. Missed again. Boom, you're dead. You don't have that wiggle room to make mistakes after getting an advantage in Valorant, or any FPS game for that matter. If your technique is bad, you might be making smart decisions and still getting punished for them because of your poor aim technique. Lucky for you, good flicking technique is really simple. It literally just consists of a fast flick close to the target, followed by a slow micro adjustment onto the target. This allows you to get to the target quickly while maintaining enough control for consistent micro corrections. But just knowing what good technique looks like isn't enough. Here's why. Common pitfall. Have you ever scoured the internet for some new advice that's going to fix your aim? Or maybe even help you simply rank up in your favorite game of choice? Yeah, me too. Probably thousands of times by now. Usually, I do find some new and helpful information. Other times I don't. When I find something new and cool, I always instantly jump on an aim trainer or into ranked to try it out and see what works for me. This is an amazing strategy for learning new things because a big part of learning is application. However, this isn't the entire picture. Yeah, training something new one time is better than never trying it at all, but you don't absorb something into your muscle memory after one iteration. It takes time. When learning a new skill, or better yet, changing a bad habit, you usually will encounter a period of regression before future growth. This is an extremely scary part of learning because it can feel as though the new changes you are adding to your gameplay are actually incorrect, even if it's not the case at all. And that's why you need to become comfortable taking one step back in order to take 2 steps forward. If you are constantly giving up during this period of regression while developing new skills and changing bad habits, you will never reap the fruits of your labor. And I seriously mean that. I'd say this is probably the most important thing that you probably aren't even doing. That being said, I have a few more extremely beneficial tips coming up in just a second that would be perfect for you to practice with this pitfall in mind. The 3 pillars of godly flicks. You want godly flicks like this? Yeah, I know, we all do. Simply by training basic flick technique, you can get close to reaching godly flick status, but there's more to it than this. A truly godly flick will contain at least 3 key elements. And no, this does not apply to hospital flicks, because while they look extremely cool and flashy, they are far too inconsistent to rely on. In order for your flicks to be godly, you will first need to be able to clearly see everything on your screen. This way your brain can process information not only the most accurately, but also the fastest. So next time you get into a gunfight and find your crosshair jumping all around, flicking past the target on the left, then back over the target on the right, really just doing a great job painting an entire portrait around them, just know that this shakiness is costing you big time. That's why people say shaky aim is bad. That being said, the first pillar of godly flicks will be aim smoothness. But Zapper, there's still 2 to go. What else could they possibly be? Don't worry, I got you. So your aim is smooth now? Alright, well you still don't have godly flicks just yet. I know you guys have experienced this next one. It's quite literally the worst feeling ever. And I'm talking about those little instances when you have a clear shot on the enemy, you take the time to line up your shot, and then you miss by literal millimeters. You could have sworn you were on target, but then proceed to fire an entire mag and hit next to nothing, only to be followed up by the enemy doing a 180 and tapping your ass instantly. This scenario is all too common and honestly all too avoidable as well. Yes, you took your time with your shot, but you still missed it, didn't you? There's more to aiming than mouse movement. The timing of your click is important as well, especially in Valorant where first bullet accuracy is so important. You should be visually processing the crosshair and the target to the point where you can see the moment the crosshair and the target overlap. It's at this moment you click, not a second before and not a second after. And you know what? The smoother your aim is, the easier this moment is to identify. And so the second pillar of godly flicks is this: target confirmation. Honestly, with mastery over just these two pillars alone, your flicks will become better than 98% of the people you go up against. But if you really want to tread into godly flick territory, you must master all three pillars. That means truly becoming efficient. Of course, as you aim train, your aim will naturally become faster and more efficient with time. However, we can speed up this process by simply understanding what an efficient flick would look like. Of course, if we could perfectly go from point A to point B in one straight line and land directly on the target, that would be perfect efficiency. And if we're able to do this extremely quickly, that would be even better. However, in practice, this is quite literally impossible to do consistently. And that's why basic flick technique was developed. The fast flick close to the target, followed by a more controlled flick onto the target, allows us humans to aim in such a way that we can find consistency without needing a perfect flick every time. That being said, the strategy can still be optimized. With basic flick technique, there's still lots of wasted mouse movement. And when you are moving your mouse more than necessary, you're losing out on crucial time. In gunfights, you need every millisecond you can get. And so in order to master godly flicking, we must first eliminate overflicks. Yes, optimizing your flick pathing can help save you milliseconds on your flicks as well, but depending on your setup, mouse grip, sensitivity, all these things can affect what the most effective flick path will be for you. So instead of optimizing your flick pathing, we first want to master our underflicks. The more you underflick, the less wasted mouse movements you will have while aiming. And so the third pillar is underflicking. Just don't forget, you still need consistent training before you find yourself automatically aiming with proper flicking technique. Sometimes this means taking a step back before you can move 2 steps forward. And for me, I like to train on Aimlabs with the Voltaic benchmarks. I will have a link down below to their website. All you got to do is have Aimlab installed, open up their website, make an account, click on Assess Your Aim, and then quite literally all the scenarios you would ever need will pop up. Then, if you just click on the little arrow next to each task, it will automatically pull it up for you inside Aimlab. My favorite task for training flicks is definitely BT 3-Shot Advanced. Well, congrats. You now have all the tools you need for mastering flicks.